Since 2016, Nigeria has consistently made moves to introduce diverse social safety net expansion programs aimed at lifting millions of low-income and vulnerable groups out of poverty. Now, social safety nets are part of broader social protection systems designed to provide support for the poor and vulnerable. They play a number of important roles as they bridge the gap of reducing inequality and providing support to households coping with reality shocks. However, reliable safety net programs targeted at poor and vulnerable groups are meant to uplift beneficiaries from a low life to meaningful earnings. Despite the suspension of the national social investment programs by President Bola Tinubu, there are concerns by the present administration with efforts put in place to fill the vacuum created and mitigate the effects of current economic realities. There is also the target of expansion of the scope of social protection programs that is expected to take course after a rigorous re-evaluation of the social investment programs. With this renewed vigor, how much difference and impact have the social safety net programs made in the lives of the poor and vulnerable groups? Tonight on Weekend File, we will assess the benefits of the federal government's safety net programs. As usual, our correspondents have filed reports on the impact to beneficiaries in the states and on the renewed social safety net interventions. Our guest is former National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program, Dr. Umar Bindir. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguilera. First, we'll begin with the news. Vice President Kashim Shettima is confident that the Naira will continue to appreciate at the forex market as the federal government will not relent in its reformative monetary policies. He stated this when a delegation of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria paid him a courtesy visit in his office at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jabrila reports.
These stakeholders are committing their expertise in supporting government's drive towards addressing the economic challenges. Vice President Kashim Shettima appreciates their will, noting that the dollar will further crash against the Naira. He recalled the quality of leadership provided by President Tinubu as governor of Lagos State, which laid the foundation for the massive development witnessed in the state, and that will be replicated in a larger scale.
This government headed by President Tinubu is poised to redefine the meaning and concept of modern leadership. I have worked closely with him. I have seen his soul. Honestly, the president's obsession is to live in a place of glory. His obsession is to transform this country, is to catapult this nation to a higher pedestal. Beyond that, it's not about primitive capital accumulation. No, it's not about money. He has the money. But he wants to leave a legacy. A legacy of qualitative leadership. Because the hope of the black man, the hope of Africa, rests on this nation.
The President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, urged the Tinubu administration to ensure a significant upswing in the face of alternative policy measures that promotes credit access, stimulate investment, and support entrepreneurship.
The fundamental changes that have come with the removal of subsidy, the unification of the currency, has opened up a lot of opportunities which we believe that the government can fast track with a couple of policies and measures that we have discussed with the Vice President, and we have profiled some solutions which can be implemented. And we have been assured by the Vice President that a couple of these are practical, they are doable, and he intends to consult with the President.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima has urged Nigerians to live peacefully and learn how to accommodate each other. He made the appeal when a delegation from the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, led by its president, paid him a visit. The Vice President was responding to an appeal made by the Anan President for land in Abuja to enable the association relocate its university to the FCT.
And we are assuring government we are always on top of the accounting profession. And accountants, of course, will not disappoint their trust, the trust from government, because we have the necessary will. We have a disciplinary committee, we have a disciplinary tribunal. Where any accountant errs, we know how to tame them.
The Anand president said there was need to introduce a new value orientation where the issue of discipline will become a culture for Nigerians, even as the association recommends the setting up of Anti-Corruption Recovery Investment and Management Commission to prevent the relooting of recovered assets in the country. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has been nominated by the Inter-Parliamentary Union as a member of the Preparatory Committee for the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament billed for 2025. In a nomination letter from the General Secretary of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Martin Changang, it was indicated that the Preparatory Committee's first meeting will hold at the IPU headquarters in Geneva on the 16th of May 2024. The conference, which is tentatively scheduled to take place from 30 July 2025 to Friday 1st August 2025, will be preceded by the Summit of Women's Speakers in Bern, Switzerland on 29th of July. Cosmopolitan University, Abuja, has matriculated its pioneer students. Vice-Chancellor of the institution, Professor Carl Adams, assures the students of an enabling learning environment driven by supercomputer innovation and international standards. Joseph Otsan reports.
A dream come true procession for these pioneer intakes and staff of Cosmopolitan University, Abuja. And the first matriculation oath affirming the first registered 54 students of this higher institution. To welcome them is the Chairman, Board of Trustees of the University, Numan Dambata, and the Vice-Chancellor, Carl Adams. They encourage the students to embrace the opportunity availed them through advanced research, knowledge, and collaboration with best resources.
I want to emphasize the importance of academic excellence, integrity, diversity in our university ethos.
Well, we use the Cosmopolitan Supercomputer Cluster to process satellite data, to support agriculture, and to develop serious artificial intelligence capabilities.
Cosmopolitan University Abuja was granted license by the National University Commission to operate in May 2023, and by June same year had the permission to offer 16 degree programs spread in 3 faculties.
I also love the way they also allow us to actually innovate with new things.
Like we use AI for everything in our learning. We have good lecturers, we have good facilities.
Morally, not only academically. In fact, I have seen tremendous change.
We visited all their labs, engineering labs, with computer lab, the facilities they have for the nursing, physics and all that. It's a world standard.
The university authority says it has already established partnerships with higher institutions in the United Kingdom to equip the students with advanced knowledge and skills that will have contemporary impact on the society. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
In other news, the Nigerian Navy remains a strategic enabler in the attainment of poverty eradication, especially through the enormous potential of the blue economy. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu stated this at the launch of 2 high-endurance offshore patrol vessels in Turkey, where she performed the age-long tradition of slipping the ship into water. She says the 76 meters high vessels are a testament to the commitment of the Tinubu administration towards achieving a more secured maritime environment for economic development. Appreciating the Derzan shipyard for the high-quality ship building capability, as well as for attaining this milestone, The First Lady says the gathering will undoubtedly strengthen relationship between Nigerian Navy and the shipyard, as well as between Nigeria and the Turkish government.
God bless this ship that we are launching today with her crew as they sail safely round the world and proudly fly the flag of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I pray the vessel will participate successfully in exercises and operations at both national and international levels.
In their comments, Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawale and Chief of the Naval Staff Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala praised the Nigerian Navy's commitment towards securing the nation's territorial waters and enabling an improved blue economy. In their remarks, Turkey's Deputy Minister of Defense Suwe Alpay and the Secretary of Defense Haluk Gorgan noted that there is room for more cooperation with Nigeria, not only in the area of security, but also economic development. As the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway takes shape, Minister of Works David Umahi has inaugurated a committee that will value and process compensation to members of communities that are expected to lose their lands as a result of the road construction. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that the minister charged the committee to carry out the assignment with due diligence.
It's the beginning of the 8-year journey of a 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Layers of basket of reinforcement berths being laid out, blanketed by concrete. The concrete technology pressing its way and remaining concretely as a policy thrust of the Renewed Hope movement.
Under this kind of arrangement,
On the menu for the chief strategist, a swift move to have a prudent compensation plan for all those who will have to make way for the road to meander. And the task is handed over to the committee with a clear roadmap.
Interact with the property owners that are going to be affected, and then, in their presence, in the presence of the committee and the SIA and the contractor, look at the compensation as enumerated to be paid, and where possible you visit the site. And the moment we are using the federal rates.
For those who are still in the dark regarding progress made so far in the execution of the project, here is the light.
And graciously, Mr. President had approved that the Section 3 will start from Calabar, which is the end of the project, and start running towards Akwa Ibom. So the 700 kilometers is procured under phase 1 in phases, and it's EPC plus F. EPC plus F is engineering, procurement, construction, plus finance. And so under this kind of arrangement, the contractor is expected to, bring in certain amount of money, and federal government is expected to pay certain counterpart funding.
The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway will no doubt bring so close to far ends, with huge opportunities knocking on the doors of millions. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Talking politics, the All Progressives Congress governorship primary election in Ondo State was generally peaceful, we hear, and orderly in most areas monitored. Abiola Rio reports that apart from the low turnout of voters witnessed, the exercise did not start until 12 noon in Akure, the state capital.
These APC members came early in anticipation of the primary election starting by 9 o'clock as scheduled. However, the long wait for the process to commence finally ended as voting started at 12 noon. Option A4 was adopted as eligible party members queue behind the aspirants of their choice. Peter Idowu is physically challenged. He came out early to participate in the primary election just like others who are determined to exercise their franchise.
What I know is that today's election will be successful.
We wouldn't want a situation where just one party will be having rancor and stuff. It's the responsibility of the leaders just to ensure that where there are problems, we calm them down.
We have been going on and watching and rating the popularity of the various aspirants.
Collation and final announcement of results is expected to be announced by the APC Election Committee led by Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo in Akure. Abiola Rio, NTA News.
The ruling All Progressives Congress has broken more grounds in Ebonyi State with the defection of more PDP stalwarts into its fold. Fortunate also reports that the latest is the defection of the immediate past member that represented Isa North and Ishielu Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Anayo Edwin Nwonu, with his team and supporters.
This assumption of office by the All Progressives Congress APC, both at the federal and state levels, the political terrain of Ebonyi State has not remained the same, as stakeholders of different political parties have joined the APC. Ebiaji, the headquarters of Ezza North Council area of Ebonyi State, came alive with the colorful defection of the former member that represented Ezza North and Ishielu Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Anayo Edwin Wong.
What really inspired me to enter is the good work the governor is doing in the state. There have been a bridge of unity. You can see all the stakeholders in Ebonyi State are united. We open our arms to receive whoever that want to join the party.
Party belongs to all of us. Therefore, let us love ourselves.
Over 500 persons defected with the former lawmaker from the three major opposition parties in Ebonyi State. In Abakaliki, Fortunate also, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu congratulates Mr. Tunde Onakoya on setting a new world chess record and sounding the gong of Nigeria's resilience, self-belief and ingenuity at the square of global acclaim. In a statement, the president observes that Mr. Onakoya broke the Guinness World Record for the longest chess marathon on Saturday after playing for over 58 hours. Also commending the Nigerian chess champion and founder of Chess in Slums Africa for raising funds to enable African children find opportunity through chess. Applauding this strength of character, Nigerian youth keeps demonstrating in all fields they get involved in. President Tinubu urges them to keep doing great exploits for the glory of the motherland as his administration continues to provide the necessary enablement. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll begin our conversation on assessing the benefits of the social safety net programs of the federal government. Stay tuned. Good to know you there. Thank you for staying tuned. And just before we delve into the conversation of assessing the benefits of federal government's social safety net programs, let's bring you some reports. Social safety net programs are usually initiated to bridge the poverty margin and lift the poor and vulnerable groups out of poverty. Our next report takes a look at federal government's efforts towards prioritizing social protection interventions in reducing poverty among Nigerians.
With a growing population of an estimated 200 million, the burden of ensuring a more equitable distribution of resources to vulnerable groups in the country is one the federal government took into consideration through the establishment of the National Social Investments Programs to reduce hardship from the poor and vulnerable in the society. Going by the 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index Survey, 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor, a burden that rears its head on a daily basis. To prioritize social protection interventions as a key strategy towards reducing poverty and socio-economic vulnerabilities in the country, the National Social Safety Nets project was introduced in 2016 in partnership with the World Bank to expand the development of safety nets to poor and vulnerable groups across the country. With poorest of the poor households who were registered under the National Social Register to benefit from federal government's intervention programs. There are 4 clusters under the NSIP: NPOWER Scheme, Conditional Cash Transfer, Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, and the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, with beneficiaries attesting to its impact in their lives.
I thank the President for coming up with this program
because I am using the money to sell cap.
The money I used to buy food for my family.
They are collecting 5,000 each month. So they come together to do local business like local beans, dadawa, groundnut, making oil, that is kuli.
In line with the renewed hope mandate of the present administration, renaming the ministry was to set targets right. Not forgetting the launch of the disbursement of 25,000 naira conditional cash transfer to 15 million households from the month of October to December in 2023, as pronounced by President Bola Tinubu, was also actualized. Following alleged fraudulent activities in the National Social Investment Programs, the federal government, however, suspended all activities of the program. But as part of measures to sustain efforts and ease the burden on the poor and vulnerable groups, President Bola Tinubu also approved the disbursement of 42,000 metric tons of assorted grains to Nigerians to cushion the effect of the global economic challenges facing the country. However, concerns are for collective efforts in lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty. Well, from Enugu comes the report that the Renewed Hope Conditional Cash Transfer Program has brought succor to many families in the state. Beneficiaries of the cash transfer say it has made life more meaningful to them. Let's hear from Yukira Ugu.
In Enugu State, the beneficiaries are overwhelmed by the impact of the cash payment.
I'm very, very grateful to be one of the beneficiaries. In fact, yesterday that I received the alert, I was excited. I rushed to my children's school and paid their school fees immediately. Before, I don't used to pay their school fees on time. Before I pay their school fees, maybe they will send my children out from the school.
For my first time experience, I'm so glad to be part of it. And it's added so much to my business because it's made me to add some products to my small scale business.
The implementation process, which is done in phases across all the states of the Federation through the capturing of the biometric data, BVN and NIN, has been described as impressive if sustained and properly appropriated.
Program, just the last discussion by the Ministry of Trade and Investment, they made a notice that by 19th they'll start disbursing the cash in tranche to a lot of the demographics, 70% women and youths, 15% to other demographics, 5% to senior citizens.
It's a very, very good idea. If you match it with the constitutional cash transfer, the major thing is to make more money available to the people.
It is expected that about 62 million Nigerians will benefit from the laudable program geared towards eradication of poverty. In Enugu, Chiegono Aro, NTA News.
All right, and we begin our conversation. We have a guest in the studio, the former national coordinator of the National Social Investment Program, Dr. Umar Binder. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Binder.
Pleasure.
All right, from inception, when the NSIP, following the NASCO, that's the National Social Safety Net project, was introduced, you were part of the project following development. Now, let's first track, following development over the years. How would you assess, the social safety net programs over the time?
Well, thank you very much. Very important question for our country. First of all, I think it is absolutely important for us to recognize that our country has a poverty problem. We've been called names by many countries, poverty capital of the world, this and that. Therefore, poverty is really an issue. And if you trace down history, even before the National Social Investment Program, without going too far, you recall that during the Abuja period, we had the FEAP, Family Economic Advancement Program, which was the poverty alleviation, literally trying to pop people up to perform better. Then, during the Obasanjo era, we had both PAP 2000, Poverty Alleviation Program 2000, and also we had NAPEP, with various programs as well, trying to lift Nigerians out of poverty. And as we drag ourselves towards this administration, we saw Sure P, we saw so many programs until we reached the social investment program. So they're all connected. It's literally like a value chain, efforts by our leaders, recognizing that this is a serious challenge to actually introduce packages that can influence our people to get better. So down to 2015-16, when the social investment program was introduced, just like you said, there were 4 clusters, and these clusters were deliberately designed to be integrated. So you have the N-Power that is cascaded into 4 levels. Graduates, they have their own really targeting and implementing strategy. You have the middle level, that is non-graduates, but at least with a bit of education, secondary school, they have their own model. And then down the line where you even have the uneducated. So, but all that is expected to build capacity of young people who are vulnerable, because even if you are a graduate of tertiary institution and you are there, you have your degree in your pocket and you are walking the streets, you are vulnerable. You are similar to somebody who never even had education. So, that is the skills upgrading, the skills acquisition package. One of the biggest package in that is the agriculture component. That is the N-Agro and so on and so forth. So
it has to do with capacity building for even non-graduates, talking about the N-Power. But there are also other schemes under the NSIP. Before the suspension, you witnessed in the past administration how it impacted the lives of Nigerians who were beneficiaries. But following the suspension of the NSIP, let's look at the structure. The president is has already inaugurated a committee, we saw that, to re-evaluate the whole scheme. That was why it was suspended. So what would you recommend? Because a lot of Nigerians will still complain that they're not part of these schemes, laudable initiatives, you would say. But what would you recommend to expand the scope and accommodate issues, or rather impactful initiatives that are peculiar to the different stratas of people who are faced with different dimensional poverty, like we know?
Well, you see, poverty is a very dangerous phase of anybody's life, if you want to call it that. It's very complex, and dealing with poverty requires calmness, technical know-how, use of very, very firm targeting processes, developing databases, constant monitoring and evaluation, documentation, and constant connection with the public on what you are doing. This country is very big. This country is highly populated. We're over 200 million. And of that 200 million, you have like between 60 to 65% in this bracket of poverty. So by the time you evaluate activities of government, you'll find that some percentage of the activities in Ministry of Health is poverty alleviation. Some activities of Ministry of Water Resources is poverty alleviation, and so on until you come to the core when it talks to vulnerability. That is the NSIP. Now, Mr. President very progressively launched the Renewed Hope agenda, meaning he wants to actually wake Nigerians up, wake up and take the opportunities in our country so that you can be able to be part of it. That is the Renewed Hope. And this program is very important for that. But I think there are some few mistakes here and there, and then we landed ourselves. Now there's a committee. My advice for that committee, to be quite honest with you, is synergy. The new way must encourage synergy. There is no way you can have a minister, just one single minister, targeting the whole packages of this poverty alleviation vulnerability, running it alone. You must work with the other sectoral ministries. Water must be very, very active in it. Otherwise, provision of potable water to poor people to avoid waterborne diseases will become a problem. You must be able to work with the Ministry of Agriculture. This is the major skills and job creation component of our economy. And from small-scale garden level to small-scale farming up to the medium-scale farming. Therefore, again, synergy has to be there to build capacity of farmers at the lowest level in the communities to produce better, to store better, to process better, so that we get along with all the losses. Then you must work with the Ministry of Health. This is very, very important to ensure that the primary health care is actually contributing to the lessening the maternal mortality, infant mortality, and all these sicknesses that are basically covering poor people. Then
well, it's good, Dr. Binder, you're bringing them out, talking about the different areas of concern, and we're seeing the renewed vigor from the federal government showing commitment that things has to be done right. Let's take a break. We'll be back to continue this conversation. Don't go anywhere. Glad you're there. The conversation is still on assessing the benefits of federal government social safety net programs. Before we continue the conversation, let's bring you this report. From Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba reports that more than 2,000 households, mostly in resettled communities in Borno State, have so far benefited from the federal government's conditional cash transfer program since the assumption of office of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Already, the social investment program has impacted positively on the lives of the beneficiaries, many of whom now have reliable source of livelihood.
Considering the peculiar situation of Borno State, where more than 3 million people were displaced by Boko Haram insurgency, the implementation of the conditional cash transfer program has helped increase households' income and consumption in poor families, as well as improve the livelihood of resettled communities. Studies have also shown that the scheme is increasingly becoming a popular tool for the reduction of poverty in conflict-affected areas, thereby making it more effective in a state like Borno, where socio-economic activities were affected by insurgency challenges.
Sorting out the beneficiaries through the National Social Register, that alone has taken it to the grassroots. Those who don't have opportunity to source for livelihood have now gotten an opportunity to get 20,000, 25,000 and 50,000 naira respectively through the Presidential Conditional Cash Transfer and through the Presidential Conditional Grants Program.
This conditional cash transfer has indeed impacted wonderfully in my life, because before I used to rear a kind of livestock. Later on, after the conditional cash transfer, I top into my business.
I use this conditional grant to top into my capital and invest. And after investing, I gain some little amount of money to assist my family.
Complementing efforts of the federal government, Borno State government on its part has been working hard, ensuring that returnee communities are supported with grants to continue with their livelihoods. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
All right, Dr. Binder, you just watched that report, and I'm sure Borno State, you agree, is one of the states who has shown commitment, to support federal government's efforts when we're talking social safety net programs. What is the role of states really to bridge that gap, and close that vacuum?
Well, traditionally, to implement these kind of programs and really record an appreciable impact, you have to break it into 2 or 3 or 4 components. The first is the immediate project, and that's why you see palliatives are very good. Yeah. People are sitting under trees, people are in camps, therefore you take rice, you take beans, you take gari, and this is immediate, you can do it now. But then, you know that is not sustainable. That cannot continue forever. Therefore, you have to bring in short-term things that can mature in 2 years. Yeah. That is, you have to build training into these people. You have to train them how to extract oil out of groundnuts, how to manufacture dudu or shun, quality, using basic tools and so on and so forth, so that by the time you come back, as you graduate from cash transfer, they too they are generating wealth and they are part of the economy. And then you get into the longer term, bigger things. To do this, you've seen in Borno State, there is no state in Nigeria that does not have a poverty alleviation program in different ways. Therefore, the federal government must have a structural adjustment to ensure that all these people are talking together. It must be coordinated. And I will advise that we try as much as possible to implement these things aligned with the renewed hope. And the renewed hope, in my opinion, is that you have to trigger the academia to respond. Universities, research institutes, polytechnics, colleges of education are not connected to these activities. This is why we have our brains. This is the workshops that are producing bits and pieces that these people can produce. This is where you have laboratories where they can test the production of seeds, extension workers, and so on and so forth. So we have to bring this academia close to these activities of poverty alleviation to make sure that they work, they disseminate superior ideas, technology that is appropriate to these communities. And therefore, the role of the state is very, very important. Governance is key. So they forget about politics, concentrate on getting your people out of poverty. Therefore, you come together with the federal government. You're comparing notes. To do that, you have to be very, very sensitive in producing data. Data is very, very important. And therefore, the states have to accept this mentality in Nigeria that if you have data, it's like you are checking corruption or you are running after people. We have to break that up. We must be able to know every child that has been fed, every woman that is benefiting cash transfer, every graduate that is benefiting on Empower.
You know, Dr. Binder, it's good you mentioned data. We can leave out the place of the National Social Register, which captures this data of vulnerable households. And last year, the president, made a pronouncement to expand the register. And we saw the verification exercise kicked off in some parts of the country. Now, the concern is on transparency and accountability. A lot of Nigerians have questioned who are these people in the social register, and some believe that they should be part of the social register. You understand the dynamics. You've been there. Who really should be on the social register?
Yes, you see, there is a bit of misunderstanding. The social register is a register of households, not individuals. When you see an individual recorded along with the social register, it is a person, woman or man, that we call a caregiver to the family. So many other databases have to be developed. The NPower has its own database. These are individual graduates, individual young people. The school feeding has its own register. These are schools and number of children. The JEEP has its own register. These are people who have registered as individuals to do with micro or informal activities. So the social register is, as the way it was defined, is this a register of households. And this was designed under the tutelage of the World Bank to capture the households on the basis of certain indices that have been tagged poor and vulnerable households. So when we, in the ministry, they were bringing all this together with the participation of National Bureau of Statistics to come up with what they call a unified register, register of the households, register of the individuals. Again, this data must mature to the extent that it is analyzable, it is constantly generated so that you can see the impact, and you can see people who have jumped out of poverty or new people who have jumped into poverty.
All right.
This is key.
Dr. Binder, and part of that progress we saw was the inclusion of ex-military men and pensioners who will be included in the National Social Register. But going forward, I asked the question on transparency and accountability. Social intervention programs are very, very key to any nation.
Yes, I totally...
In your final thoughts, very briefly, what are your recommendations?
I totally agree with you. But you see, registers are generic procedures of collecting data. If you don't have data, you will not call anything corrupt. You must have indices. Secondly, my recommendation is that in every state, in every local government, in every ward, you have to cascade the data at that level so that you can see. The public should understand that these things takes time. The whole idea for poverty is the targeting process. Targeting is very, very difficult. It's a technical activity. You must find the leper woman. You must find the poor man. You must find the child who is out of school. But if you open it generically, you will capture children that are in school as out of school, children that are out of school as in school. So developing data very technically is very important. And that is why I'll advise that use technically qualified people and continue training and retraining in this profession of actually implementing poverty alleviation. I think we have very good prospects, and under the renewed hope, I think we can do it.
Indeed, thank you so much, Dr. Umar Binder, former National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Program. We'll continue to keep our eyes on developments and ensure that the impact is actually felt by Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take one more break. Don't go anywhere. Good to know you're there. Let's just bring you sports update right away.
The highly anticipated Abuja City International Half Marathon proved to be a remarkable event. Shedrack Ngabao from Kenya emerged as the overall winner, setting a new record time of 1 hour, 7 minutes and 58 seconds in the elite male category. Francis James, a native of Plateau State, secured the second position with a record time of 1 hour, 8 minutes and 2 seconds. Gaspore Atelina from South Sudan came first with a record time of 1 hour, 20 minutes and 23 seconds in the elite female category.
The organization was very nice. Controlling of the vehicles was very nice. So we hope to be here again.
I'm very happy to be here in Abuja today for this marathon.
Thank God I did finish second position. I said I thank God. Yeah, that's my first race to come win this second position in Nigeria.
The Nigerian Premier Football League resumes action with match day 31 on Sunday. Kano Pillars will host Gombe United at the Sani Abacha Stadium in Kano. Katsina United, currently in 7th place, will face Sporting Lagos, while Kwara United will go up against Akwa United. Lobby Stars of Makurdi will have a home game against Bendel Insurance, and Niger Tornadoes will take on Doma United. Eiba, also known as the People's Elephant, will travel to Akure for a match against Sunshine Stars. After a pivotal miss in the Manchester City's UEFA Champions League penalty shootout defeat, Bernardo Silva scored the winner for the citizens as they reached the FA Cup final, inflicting Chelsea's 10th loss in their 13 trips to Wembley. In the English Premier League, Burnley has significantly improved their chances of staying in the Premier League by defeating Sheffield United 4-1 at Bramall Lane on Saturday afternoon. For Sports Update, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
All right, and just before we go, let's find out how Sunday's weather will look like.
Glad to have you join us on the weather forecast. The past couple of days, the north and parts of the southern region have been experiencing a quiet morning, with the exception of parts of the southern region and Taraba states. Going into Sunday, there are possibilities of morning thunderstorms to parts of Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Akwa Ibom and Cross River states, leaving other parts of the country quiet, with sunshine intervals to the north and patches of clouds to the north, central and the southern region. The bulk of the weather activities are expected later during the day, as thunderstorms are anticipated to most parts of the southern region, including the Federal Capital Territory, Kogi, Niger, Kwara, Plateau, Kebbi, Kaduna and Taraba states. Stand by for the Air Quality Index and weather forecast. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching.
And this is where we call it a night. Thank you for being part of Weekend File. Do have a good night rest. I'm Ruth Aguele. Bye.